Finally. I'm not even sure we're live yet, but there we are. Things are popping up, things are popping in. Good morning. Oh, wait. No, sorry. Well, somewhere in the world it's morning. I think in Australia, I'm not quite sure. I think it's morning in Australia. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is for you anywhere in the world. I know in England it's evening. What is it? It's 7 o'clock at night. Are you sitting comfortably, everybody? Uh, because it is afternoon here in the United States of America, which is where I am at the moment. I'm in Florida, so it's good afternoon for all of us. So, good afternoon, or whatever time it is. Hello, everybody. Why don't I just do that in the future? Just say hello. First of all, I'd like to say hello to Grey Eagle. It seems very odd saying hello to him because I've already had a few conversations with him today. But I'd like to introduce my spirit guide, Grey Eagle, who is standing, as always, by my right side. And I'd also like to say hello to Chris. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Rosemary. Hi, everyone.
Now, it looks to me like we've only got two people, and I think one of them is you. Do we have more people or not?
Yes, people are starting to come on, Rosemary.
Oh, okay. All right then. So I think we'll chat just for a little bit and then we'll get to the story, give people time. But I know that there are a lot of you are thinking, what's she doing on a Saturday afternoon? She's not supposed to be here on a Saturday afternoon. Well, we had planned, as those of you who were visiting with us on Thursday, watched the show with us on Thursday, know we had planned to do our same 11 a.m. Story time. But my window guys were supposed to have finished yesterday, but they had to come back today. And then, what can I say? It took a little longer than we had planned. So it got to about 10:30 or something. I said to Chris, I think we're not going to make 11. Maybe we'll make 12. And then it was obvious we were not going to make 12. So what the heck? I said to Chris, let's schedule it for the afternoon. And he left this lovely guy who's done a fantastic job. If anybody in Florida wants recommendations as to who to do their windows, I'm one of those people. Call me, email me, check me out, whatever. Fantastic windows in. Really nice guys working in the house with me. And he left at about 10 minutes past one, quarter past one, there around that region. So I've just managed. You all want to know this, don't you? You're really fascinated by my life, aren't you? It's not very boring so far. I just had time to have a little bit of lunch, which was, would you like to know what I had for lunch today, everybody? I had a crisp bread with some nice tuna fish, some nice albacore tuna, and that's it. And that's all I've had for my lunch today. But that's okay because I shall eat. Once I'm off this show, I shall just go back to eating again. Uh, I'm not really telling the truth, am I? I probably won't eat again until dinner time. But anyway, so it's been a very busy morning. And then to top it off, I thought I'll just go take a look at this one particular window, which is quite a large window, and they've had a bit of difficulty with it. Um, and as I'm walking away from the window, my foot felt a bit sticky. And yes, I did. I tracked through the house some goo, and it's my own fault. So, so we've been cleaning up the goo as well, you see. So anyway, that is my life so far today. Really quite boring, but I did enjoy having Corey, my fabulous window man, coming in, and just he's such a funny guy, and we've had a lot of fun this morning. He finally left, and now I'm all alone. So this is the perfect time to have our story time. What do you think, Chris?
I think it is the perfect time.
So I can see we've got quite a few people coming in now. So what do you think? Why don't we have a few comments or questions or some such? I know we don't usually do it this way, do we? We usually do the story time and then we get the questions and comments. But why don't we just, have anything that's out there that's interesting, Chris, in the chat room? Because I see quite a few people now. And then we'll do story time once we've done that. What do you think? Is that a good idea?
That's fine. Annie's on saying hello to us both. And then Judith is saying, I've been waiting for you in Gray Eagle. She's still having a problem having YouTube notify her of when you go live. So I'm not sure what we can do at this end about that. If the bell's been checked and your phone has been checked to allow notifications, and
It is odd because I didn't knowingly do anything and I get notified. A little thing flash comes up on my camera. And in fact, my daughter called me this morning to say, "Oh, I see you've changed story time till 2 o'clock." I said, "How do you know?" And she said it flashes up on her thing as well. I'm not sure she does anything particular to have it flash up either. So, of course, you know I'm not the person to ask these things.
Annie's saying, I'm at the point of exhaustion. I'm moving in to take care of my mom, and downsizing is pure hell.
Don't I know it? Oh my goodness, poor Annie. Well, let's put you on our healing list. Let's give you a little zap or two of energy, good healing energy. Why don't we do that? Make you feel better. Anything else, Chris, before I tell my story?
Dee's on saying hello to everyone, and Judith says it's raining here in Florida.
Who said
Judith.
that?
Judith.
I should know this, shouldn't I, Judith? Where in Florida are you? Because it's not raining where I am. In fact, it's, not that little bit overcast, but nice day, a lovely day, and no rain whatsoever.
So that's it for right now, Rosemary.
All right. So years and years ago, and they may still do it now, but when I was a little girl, which was at least 100 years ago, I was just trying to think, was it before we had televisions? In England, we didn't have televisions nearly as soon as you had them here in the States. So, I'm not so old-ish. Anyway, in the afternoons, it's around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, every single day, except the weekends, 2 o'clock, all of those parents who were home with their children would get the children to gather around, and it was the quiet time, I suppose, and it would be story time. And you'd listen intently to the radio, and this lady would come in and she'd say, "Hello, children," all that stuff. But she'd always say, just prior to telling the story, she would say, "Are you sitting comfortably?" And there would be a pause. And then she'd say, "And then we'll begin. So are you sitting comfortably, everybody? Because if you are, or even if you aren't, I'm afraid, once upon a time, we shall begin. Once upon a time, in England, I was at a big event, and it was an unexpectedly big event. I'd been asked to do something in a school they were going to be using the hall. I think they were doing a fundraiser or something like that. Anyway, and I was asked to go and speak. And so my friend and I, we drove up to the school, and we drove around the school. Then we drove around the school some more. We could not find a parking spot anywhere. And I thought to myself, well, it is a school. Maybe they have, classes, night classes, because that's in schools in England. They'd often use the classrooms for nighttime classes. Maybe they've got night classes going on, or maybe there's an event going on of some such or another. And so anyway, we ended up having to park quite a way away from the school, and we had to walk. And, I'm thinking, I wonder what's going on there. I wonder why there are all these people. And we arrived, I met my friend, Mick, in the lobby of the school. And we walked in, and as we were walking in, he's all excited. He said, "Rosemary, you should see, there's a great crowd. There's a really great crowd." And, I'm nodding, not really thinking much about it. And I'm saying, "Well, that's good." And he's saying, "This is it. I think this is it." And I didn't really understand what he meant by "this is it." Anyway, he then opens the double doors to take a peek through into what probably was like an enormous school hall, huge school hall. And as he opened the door, I saw, I don't know how many, 1,000, 2,000 people maybe, this enormous crowd of people, all, you know, in chairs, all in rows and so on and so forth. And I'm thinking, still thinking to myself, oh, I wonder what's going on in there. I had no clue. I know some of you won't believe it, but I really did not have any clue whatsoever. You know, I'd been working from home, I'd been taking consultations, I'd done a little bit of work for the church here and there. I had no clue that behind me, behind the scenes, let's say, people would come to see me, then they'd go back and they'd tell somebody, and then that person would tell somebody, and then somebody else would come to see me. And it's called word of mouth, right? I never did any advertising. I only advertised one time, a little tiny piece in the newspaper. And so, you know, just this one time when I first began. So, and I was completely unaware of what it turned out was the buzz. And so I'm looking, and Mick's opening the door, and I'm thinking, I wonder what's going on there in there with all those people. And then Mick turned to me and he said, okay, shall we go in? And he opens the door a bit more. And I said, what do you mean, shall we go in? He said, you know, let's go in. And I said, no, I'm not going in there. And I peeked in, and he said, they're all here for us, Rosemary, they're all here for us. And I'm thinking, I'm not going in there. Absolutely not going in there. I did not expect such a crowd of people. And I had thought, as I'd said, there were other things going on in the school. But in fact, what happened was that all the parking spaces were taken because people had come to see me. Who knew? Who knew that I was famous in my little area? Who knew in the towns and the villages that surrounded me that people had sort of gotten to know who I was, what I'd done, and you know, hopefully what I was going to do for them. The place was heaving. Now, it was a very wide but also very long hall, and there was a center aisle, and the stage was all the way down at the far end. You would have thought, honestly, that I was being taken to the gallows. You really would, because I was not ready to deal with all of these people. I just, you know, it was just beyond my comprehension that this amount of people would actually gather in one place for me. Anyway, as we're walking down the aisle, it was made down the center aisle there towards the stage. And Mick was now way ahead of me, galloping down to the stage because he was very eager for this. And as I'm sort of lagging behind. And as I'm walking down the aisle, I can hear people whispering as I'm coming along. And, you know, from one part of the audience, and then from another part of the audience, then another part of the audience. And you know how it's sort of something starts as a soft little whisper, and then it just grows and grows until it's sort of quite loud. And people were, I could hear them, you know, say, that's her. Or, you know, there she is. Oh, look, she's coming. And I still could not get my head around it. And I finally reached the stage, and it was a high stage. You had to sort of go to either side of the stage to climb up some steps to get onto the stage. And I remember standing. I remember going to the end, arriving at the center of the stage, and you know, sort of looking up at the stage, and I had my back to the audience, and I can tell you that my conversation with Grey Eagle now is funny, but it wasn't at the time. I'm begging him, please get me out of this. I can't do this. I know I can't do it. And all the time, Greg is saying to me, you can do it, and I'm going to be right by your side. And I'm saying, no, but I can't do it. You don't understand. I am not getting up off that stage. And he's saying, I'm going to be right by your side. And with that, I felt his hand on my elbow and a tug. And I knew that I had no choice but to get up there, because I didn't want to turn around and face all these people behind me and to run off into the sunset. But I was very close to doing it. So I managed to get up onto the stage without making a fool of myself. Luckily, in those days, sort of mid-calf skirts were in. And I was wearing a mid-calf skirt. You'll probably be thinking, what does that have anything to do with anything? Well, it means that you couldn't see my knees knocking, really. And I'm not kidding. So anyway, so I was on one side of the stage. There were chairs, and Mick was on the other side of the chair of the stage. And as I go by him, I walk by him, and I said, you know, you can go on. You know, thinking if he goes on, I won't. The longer he's on, the less I have to do. And my friend Mick was lovely and a healer, and he talked and he talked and then he talked more, and then because he was very excited to have this huge audience, you know, sort of listening to him, and he talked about healing, and I was perfectly happy. I was perfectly happy to just let him do his thing until all of a sudden I hear a whisper in my ear. It's from a man who is asking, you know, I need to get a message to my wife. Her sister's in the audience. Could you please give her a message? I need to get a message to my wife and my children. So I'm listening, but I'm pretending that it's not happening because I don't want to get up on the stage. But then he kept insisting some more, and then I kept feeling a nudge, and then I'm hearing Greg on the other side of me saying, it's time, it's time. And I started to listen to this man again, and all of a sudden there was no audience, and all of a sudden there was, you know, no fear, because I was paying attention to this man who was in great pain. He'd died in an accident very suddenly, and he'd left his wife and his two small children, and he desperately needed to get a message to them. So I became very involved in what he was saying, and saying to him, well, you know, can you point them out to me? Where do you want me to go? Where in the audience do you need me to go? Can you point them out to me? And anyway, this went on for a little bit, and finally, I'm so carried away with what I'm listening to. Finally, I suddenly hear my friend Mick saying, Rosemary, and I think he called me 2 or 3 times, Rosemary, and he holds his hand out, and it's now my turn to step up there in front of the microphone. I can honestly tell you that as I reached the microphone, my knees were knocking badly. My legs were trembling. I could hardly say a word. I was so terrified. I think they call it stage fright. And then all of a sudden, I felt this calm come over me. Gregel's hand on my arm, and I just got on with it. At some point, I got off the stage with the microphone and went into the audience. Okay, now, yes, did the man manage to reach his wife and his kids? Yes, he managed to get a message to them. That was great. But there were other people in the audience as well who also had messages. And all of a sudden, I'm over at this side of the audience, and I feel a tug, and from out of the corner of my eye, I see a young man who, well, I discovered later was about 16 years old. And he said, it's me, Rosemary, it's me. And of course, I didn't know who me was. He said, I want to talk to Stephen, and he's way over at the back of the room. So I go to this side, I reach over, I say, is there a Stephen back there? I need to speak to Stephen. And nobody says anything. Nobody puts their hand up. So this young man I've got standing here, keep going, Rosemary. He is there. Keep going. And I say again, and then it's about 4 rows from the back, and in the middle there, I know that there is a Stephen because I've got a young man here who was killed very tragically, and he's calling out for Stephen. I watch as this little head pops up, very blonde little head pops up, and I'm looking at a young boy, and I'm going to say he was about the age of around 10 or 11 years old, something like that. And I hear this little voice, I'm Stephen. Well, I try always with children to make sure that their parents or an adult is with them, because the adult, I need to get permission from the adult if I'm going to talk to a child. So I see this little boy, this young boy waving at me, I'm Stephen, and I said, do you have an adult with you, Stephen? And so a lady stood up next to him and she said, I'm his aunt. And I say, I need permission from you to talk to him. And so she gave me the permission. Now begins an odd message, a very odd message, which I did not really understand at all. Some of it I understood, some of it was fairly simple, but I'll tell you roughly what the message was. So Stephen described his new scooter, and he described that he was on his new scooter. He just had it for his birthday, just less than a week before, I think. And he and his pal, who also had a scooter, were driving down a country lane, and they came to what was, to me, as I'm being described, it looked like an old railway crossing. And there was no barrier up at the crossing, as it used to be in England at that time. Anyway, there was no barrier, no warning, no nothing. And Stephen's brother, turns out, was wearing a helmet. This young man was wearing a helmet, and he did not hear the train. He did not see the train. Unfortunately, because he didn't hear and he didn't see, he went first over the crossing. His friend, fortunately, had hung back a little bit, was trying to catch up to him. And so this young man, whose name is Nigel, this young man was describing how he, had been killed on this crossing. So now we have Stephen, who's crying, but smiling because he's thrilled that he's getting a message from his brother. His brother tells him lots and lots of different things. It turns out that Nigel's mum and dad were there as well, but they were too nervous or too fearful or whatever it is. They didn't want to show themselves. But it also turns out that a lot of people in the audience knew their story and knew what had happened to their son. So it wasn't just a question of giving that one message to Stephen and his family. It was a question of everybody around them knowing that that they understood the message. And so one of the messages, and the most important message at the time for Stephen, Nigel very desperately wanted Stephen to know, and he wanted his parents to know, will you tell mum and dad, who were in the audience, not saying a word, taking it all in, will you tell them, and will you understand, he said, Nigel said, I've got all my bits and pieces back. Even the important little bit. And he started chuckling. So I said, I said to Nigel, can you explain that to me? And he described how after the accident, and I think we don't really think about these things, do we? But after the accident, there were a lot of men going out with black plastic bags and picking up pieces from miles away from the scene of bits and pieces of Nigel that were still on the train track and putting them in plastic bags. And you might think this is a really gruesome story, but it was very important for Nigel to let his family know. He said, I'm whole again. I've got all my bits and pieces back, including the important little bit. And he chuckled again. Being a boy, we know what that important bit is, don't we? I don't have to spell it out. And so he let them know, not only am I here, not only can I talk to you, not only can I call my brother's name, not only can I show you all that it really is me, because he said so much more in that short time that we had together than I can tell you here. But he was letting them know in the best way that not only had he survived death, but he was not well, should I say, he was whole, he was well, and he was whole. And we've talked before about the etheric body, the spirit body, the same shape, the same size as our physical body. And that etheric body is indestructible. So when I was seeing Nigel and talking to Nigel, I saw a healthy young man, a beautiful man, beautiful young man who just was desperate to let his family know that he was not only fine, but he was also whole. And so you can imagine in that audience of people, you could have heard a pin drop. There were so many, many more messages that night. My nerves completely disappeared. Because when you're talking to people in the spirit world and you see how some of those people in the spirit world are also very nervous, my job is to get them to talk to me and to let them know there's no need for them to be nervous. Don't worry, because I'll hold your hand. Don't worry, because I can hear you. Don't worry, because I'm listening to you. I can see you. Don't worry, I'll guide you through this. And of course, Grey Eagle standing by my side is also doing the same thing, helping, guiding, and steering all of those in the spirit world who would like to give a message to their loved ones. And some of the messages we had that night were so startling and so amazing. I make it sound as if that's an unusual thing, and it isn't actually for me, because so many of the messages, even now, even this last week, I was speaking to a couple of people, and the clarity of the messages, the clearness, the detail of the messages, the incredible and beautiful thing when you see someone in the spirit world and they're able to describe all of these things and give so much evidence that they are around. So it isn't an unusual thing, but on this particular night, it was my first night with a big audience, and I was, just so caught up in what I was doing, because let's face it, what I was doing was just so amazing and incredible, because those in the spirit world are amazing and incredible, and when they have something to say, we better learn to listen, hadn't we? That the messages kept flowing and flowing and flowing, and all the time Greg stood by my side, and all the time, if I was unsure about something, or if I didn't quite hear something clearly, or if we had somebody in the audience who seemed not to know or not to understand, all the time Gregor was there helping me, guiding me, helping those in the spirit world and guiding them, so that by the end of this evening, I think it was something like 3.5 hours, maybe even 4 hours long. By the end of it, the audience was, let's say, still. They were still. They were paying attention to every single thing. They were holding their breath for the next and the next and the next piece of evidence. And even when you don't necessarily give a message to one person in the audience, um, even so, that one person gets so much and so much in the way of a message or evidence of survival after death just by listening to the people who are getting the messages directly from those in the spirit world. And it is an amazing thing to watch. It's an amazing thing to see. But from my side of things, from my point of view, it's really, if I say it's remarkable, it doesn't even describe it. So here we are, my first big audience. My knees are no longer knocking. I'm no longer saying to Greg, oh, please don't make me. Because as I stood in front of that stage, I'm saying to Grey Eagle, I'm begging him, please don't make me do this. Please, please, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. Please, please don't make me do this. The spirit world knows when we're ready. The spirit world knows when we're able to do things. The spirit world, even though we don't always see the reasons why, has a plan. And their plan for that night was to give some remarkable and incredible messages to people in the audience so that they could be inspired and given hope. It was quite a few weeks afterwards because I was very, very booked up. But it was quite a while later that I had a couple come to see me, and they came for a consultation. Of course, I hadn't seen them before. I didn't know who they were until all of a sudden I see Nigel, and I'm thinking, haven't I spoken to you before, Nigel? And he started laughing and explained to me, you know, this is my mum and dad. They were too afraid to say anything, but they were in the audience that night. They became, this couple, such good friends of mine. I think they won't mind if I say Peter and Lynn supported the healing centre. Peter became the chairman of the healing centre in England and ran it for me when I actually came overseas. They were an integral part. They became an integral part of the opening the healing centres and continuing the work of healing and the healing association that we formed. You don't ever know who you're going to meet, do you? You don't ever know how important they're going to be to you. But I think that Lynn and Peter felt very much so. And Stephen, remember, who is now grown and married and has his own kids. Gosh, it's such a long time ago. But you never quite know how what you're going to do or what you're going to say impacts other people. I like to think on that particular night, with that particular audience, that Greg and I, and those in the spirit world, let's not forget how important they are. I like to think that we inspired, we gave hope, and we impacted our audience in a very positive and in a very good way. The end. All right, Chris, did you like that story?
I love that story. I love Peter and Lynn too. So
Yes.
yeah, Megan's saying it's amazing. Mary says, "Hi, lovely Rosemary. Thank you for sharing story time. You look very beautiful and colorful. Love, Mary the Londoner."
I married the Londoner.
Joe says, "Amazing story." Um, Mary says, "Rosemary, you look beautiful today. In hanging with the kids, any messages from Gray Eagle or mom or dad in the spirit world?"
Who is this who's asking this?
This is Mary, a different Mary.
Mary.
We have a few Marys.
Oh, not right now. I'm actually, you see me from here upwards, right? You can't see the tar and the putty and the stuff that's on my feet at the moment. You can't see the rushing around that we've been doing today. And Chris has been so busy today, one way or another. So I have to thank you, Chris, for accommodating my situation. We're just glad to be here. So as much as I would like to give some individual messages today, if you want an individual message, by the way, you know what's happening. Well, is it happening next Saturday, Chris? I don't know.
I have a feeling it won't be. I have a feeling we're going to have to change it, Rosemary.
Okay, but within the next couple of weeks, then we are going to be having a webinar. Unfortunately, there are some friends of Chris's husband who have organized and arranged some amazing stuff to commemorate Mike. So that takes precedence over anything else that we do because, you know, Chris, she kept saying to me, I can, even if it happens, I can do it. And I'm saying, no, you can't do it because you've got to be there the whole way through because it's for you and for Mike. So we shall let you know. For all of you who have booked tickets already, please don't worry because we will be doing it. We won't be doing the following weekend because why?
4th of July weekend.
Oh, that's it. That one. Yes. So we won't be doing it then, but because people have plans and so on. But we'll be doing it as soon after that as I can. So I promise you, you know, we shall be doing it. I won't be forgetting you, but we will be having a webinar very, very soon, possibly next Saturday when it was arranged. But if not, very, very soon after that, we'll let you all know where Gregor and I are going to be talking to your loved ones in the spirit world, and quite a few of you will be getting messages. Now, we've done this once before. Oh my gosh, wasn't it amazing, Chris? Didn't you have a great time? Weren't there some great messages?
It was stunning. Yeah, absolutely.
So please, you know, check with the website, rosemaryaltea.com. If you want to know more about it, you know, email Chris, Kris, at rosemaryaltea.com, or you can just email Rosemary at rosemaryaltea.com. If you email Chris, you'll get it a bit quicker because she's the one who answers all the emails. Whether or not you send them to me, she's the one who answers them. So, you know, so that, you know, that's helpful to you. And you know, we'll be doing other things as well. Yesterday we did an off the cuff. We had a good time yesterday. I had a good time yesterday. Did you have a good time doing?
The time went by really fast, didn't it?
No, 1 minute we'd started, and the next minute, before we knew it, the hour was by and we were done. So, you know, just keep posted. We are also going to be hopefully before I go to New York, we are also going to be actually doing another cooking show, a Sunday show. Maybe we should do something, you know, maybe we'll do something for the 4th of July because I actually don't celebrate the 4th of July. I'm British, and people don't usually ask me to join them either, let me tell you, just so you know, because I'm British. But you know, maybe we'll do something then. I don't know, Chris. We'll have to figure it out. We'll have to talk about it, and we'll let you all know. But keep checking in, everybody. Chris.
Catherine says, "You're very special, Rosemary. Thank you. Any event in Sarasota, Florida in the near future?"
Well, I'm just down the road. So, Catherine, where are you? I mean, you could invite me for lunch or something. We could meet for drinks. Let me see, what else could we do? Well, if I knew you better, I'd invite you to my house, although I'm not inviting anybody right now because I'm getting my house straightened up, and I'm also getting ready to go to New York to see my daughter and my grandson, although I will still be, even though I'm in New York, I still will be working from there. So don't panic thinking that, you know, we're not going to be around, because isn't it great, Chris? We can do this from anywhere in the world.
It's fabulous that we have this technology. Absolutely.
So Sarasota, you want an event, you organize it, Catherine, and I'll be there.
There we go.
Yeah, how about that? Get in touch with Chris. She'll help you, because let me tell you, she can't wait to do something like that. Right, Chris?
I absolutely love seeing the look on people's faces and hear their intake of breath and notice a person coming in grieving and leaving with like 10 years drop off their face and finding that peace and hope.
It is
It's
amazing,
watching a
right?
miracle take place,
It
really.
is. It is. We do miss those times, don't we? With COVID, there's not been the chance to have audiences, so it's we don't quite get the same impact. But I tell you, whenever my British team came along to any of our events, they'd always request, "Can we sit? Not on necessarily on the stage with you, but we want to sit facing the audience, please." Because they love to do exactly what you've said, Chris. They love to watch people's faces and to see people's reactions when they were receiving these messages. It is a phenomenal thing to do, I have to say.
Yeah. So Eric is saying greetings to you both.
Hi, Eric.
Judith is saying, I can't imagine your knees ever knocking.
Oh yes, trust me.
And she says,
you
yes,
know
I remember when mid skirts were in style. I wore them too.
yeah, they were very slimming, weren't they? Although I was very skinny in those days also, but they were very slimming. But I can tell you, people talk about, I was so nervous my knees were knocking, and you think it's just sort of like a metaphor or something. You think that, of course, it's not really happening. Trust me. Trust me when I tell you, doing this. It's a wonder you didn't hear the bone. I was trembling from head to toe, and my knees, I mean, it was a wonder. It's a wonder I could stand up. But gosh, those were the days when I was just a baby at this sort of thing, right? But nevertheless, baby or not, some of those messages were, well, all of the messages were just amazing. Okay, keep going, Chris.
Judith says, I'm willing to wait for as long as it takes for the webinar.
Oh, thank you, Judith. You're
And
so nice.
and Christina's excited for the webinar.
Oh, good, good. We really do hope that you're not going to be too disappointed that it isn't next week. But as I've said, right now, Chris takes precedence, and what she's needing to do for her husband, for her family, is is that's what we have to consider.
Joe says, Rosemary, do you have any update on a new book yet?
Oh, Joe, my goodness. Well, oh, I do. I keep saying I'm in the process. What I did say was that after the summer, and I've talked to Chris about this, after the summer, maybe even I'll start it during the summer. It depends how much time I've got. But after the summer, I'm really going to be focusing on my book, which I began this book years and years and years ago, and so many different people have put in so much input. We've had questions from people all over the world. And when I say questions, I mean questions directly to Grey Eagle. Those of you who were at the webinar Grey Eagle Speaks will know what I'm talking about, because there are so many different questions that Grey Eagle addresses. A lot of those questions have to do with, what is going on, in this world of ours, how we deal with, well, you name it, how we deal with so many different things, what the spirit world thinks of us, advice and help and guidance from the spirit world, all coming from Grey Eagle. And the book is called simply Grey Eagle Speaks. When I say simply, it is like, well, it's just amazing. So we've had transcripts. We've had transcripts from so many different people. So many people have sat down with me and with Grey Eagle to ask questions. So it's a whole rich combination of all of the different questions that we could imagine um, asking. So I should be working on that, and sort of doing a bit of editing with that. And the thing is that because it's Grey Eagle's voice and Grey Eagle's words, there's not too much editing. It's my typing that I'm going to have to be editing, and I'm going to have to be checking my grammar and so on and so forth. But that's what I'll be working on. It's once the summer is over with.
So
Yes, Chris.
D is on now. D has a video on our website gosh, now is it like month, 6 weeks ago that we did when she witnessed the 9/11 story
On whose website? On hers
on
or ours?
your website.
Okay,
You
right.
and I spoke to Dee here, like, within the
Yes.
last month
Hi,
and a half
Dee.
or so.
Yeah.
So Dee says this was a beautiful story. It was not only for Stephen and his family, because many people there knew of the experience. It offered confirmation of life after death for everyone in the audience.
That's exactly right, Dee. That is exactly right. And my sharing the story with you all and really sharing story time it's a way of showing you all how things work. It's about sharing those stories, and it's about hopefully inspiring you all to hold on to that hope. We have so little hope these days for so many different reasons. There's so little hope in the world. So what we're trying to do is to spark that hope and to inspire you to hope and to not give up on life, no matter how tough it might seem to be for you right now. Please don't give up. There's always a spark of hope. And by telling these stories, I can show you just how bright that spark can shine.
Glenda says, Rosemary, can I please ask everyone and yourself to pray for my son Salvatore? He is only 35 years old and is in the hospital right now on a heart monitor and on blood thinners. I'm terrified for him, and I can hear his voice, though he's trying to be brave, that he is also terrified.
Well, who is this again? This lady's
This is
name?
Glenda.
Glenda. Absolutely. 1000%. I'm going to ask everybody to hold hands here and to, in fact, why don't we do it now? Can you all join me right now? Can you all join me and hold hands? Just visualize that you're with me. Visualize that you're holding hands with every single person who is watching this. And even for those of you who are not watching live, if you're watching this after the live show, please send out your thoughts, send out your energy to wonderful Salvador, because we are sending healing right this second. And my team and I, Glenda, will be sending healing every day. Please, can you keep us posted? Let us know how he's doing. You are right. He is very scared. No point in telling him not to be, because of course he is. It's a natural thing. Gregel is telling me to tell you that you are being surrounded by light even as we're speaking, and your son is being surrounded by light even as we're speaking right now. So let's just put out a few seconds. Let's put out our energy towards this young man and see if we can surround him with our light. Are you ready to go? Because hold my hands, because I'm holding yours. And you see, it takes but a few seconds, maybe even 1 second, to send out that healing energy. And we can do that not just with Salvador, but we can do it with so many people that we know. Is it Salvador, Salvatore? What is it? I'm not sure, but doesn't matter, because Greg will know, and those in the spirit world know. So we are sending out our healing prayers to him every day. Again, Glenda, please keep us posted on his progress. Chris.
Carolyn says, I've never considered I would get a message from the spirit world, as my relatives, like my dad, were super reserved and private. Are reserved people different in the spirit world?
Yeah, no. Yes, wait a minute. I'm not quite sure how to answer that. If you are a shy person or if you are a reserved person, yes, very often that does come through. You don't change your character necessarily just because you passed. But again, Gregel is there, and all of your family are there helping and supporting. And if that person needs to get a message through and needs to get a message across, and if there's an opportunity, they're not just standing there by themselves, you know. They have a lot of other people with them, your family in the spirit world, who are with them and encouraging them, and sometimes actually speaking for them until they're brave enough to speak for themselves. So, you know, don't be disheartened if you think, my lovely, that, you know, you'll never get a message because your family are, you know, a little bit reserved, because I've seen the shyest of people. I've watched the most cautious of people. I've watched the most reserved of people. When they get an opportunity and they know it's now or never, they'll do it. They will do it, but they have a lot of help and support.
Nella says, "Thank you for the message you gave me yesterday. I slept through the night."
Oh, did I give you a message yesterday, Nella?
Nella had lost her son.
Oh, good. Oh, um, yes, uh, yes, off the cuff stuff. I'm thinking I'm having to try and remember that. Listen, my darling, you are very welcome, but I'm glad you slept through the night, and I hope you're going to have a good night tonight also. We talked, you know, the other day with Chris about living our faith and how important it is to live our faith. And Chris, do you want to say anything to that? Because if you do, you need to come on screen to say that.
Oh, jeez.
Come on.
Let's see. Let's get me on. All right. Living our faith. So I said to Rosemary in one of my crying jags, you know, trying to come to terms with this, especially in the way that Mike was taken with no sign or symptoms, no obvious heart attack. It's as if God reached his hands down and said, "It's your time."
Well, that's what happened, but
right. But I mean, when I visualize it, it's almost like God's hand goes, pluck, you're out of your body. And then you're left with this cavernous hole that's all about loss and, you know, how are you ever going to fill it up? And there's nothing that can fill it up. And I think I said to Rosemary something along the lines of, I get that it's God's plan. It absolutely sucks for us that it's God's plan. But if I know that it's God's plan, rather than, you know, all the logical things you go through, was it his health? Did he have a heart attack? What conditions brought him there? Could he have done anything different that wouldn't have led him to this? You know, if I go to that side,
if
yeah, it's despair and there's nothing I can do about it. But if I know that it's God's plan and God knows, whatever you want to call God, spirit, energy, whatever, however you're labeling this, that wonderful, loving essence knows better and can see wider and deeper and further than I can in this moment. And if I trust in that, I know that it's the best thing, whereas at this moment in time, it doesn't feel like the best thing. And in knowing that God's got our back and this is the best thing, that helps me cope.
even though we don't see God's plan, and we can get angry about it, we can get frustrated about it. No point in getting angry and frustrated about something you can't change, but people do it anyway because it's our way of letting out our feelings. But I think for those of you who have lost a child, whether that child is 2, 22, 32, 52, doesn't matter the age, does not matter the age. The loss of a child, I think, is the worst to bear, and sort of being able to do this with Chris's help, being able to do story time again with Chris's help, is so inspiring for people. And I think it really is tremendously helpful to people because, as I said a few minutes ago, hold on to your hope and hold on to your faith. And as hard as it might be for you, hold on to your trust, because I promise you, if you do those things, it will enable you to live your faith and to survive today the next minute, tomorrow, the next second, whenever it is, it'll help you to survive those moments when, as Chris calls it, those crying jags or those despairing moments, those moments when you feel that you're in a hole and you're never going to climb out. Just hold on to that faith. Hold on to us if it helps you to do that too. So thanks, Chris, for that.
There you go.
Oh, she's gone. So, okay. So anything else, Chris?
Well, let's see. We've got some healing requests from Eric for Buddy in surgery now. Then we have Glenda saying, thank you so much. He's my pride and joy. I love him so much. My son, Salvatore, you'd probably say it better than me. Salvatore. Do you know how to say that in Italian?
But I'm not
Salvatore.
Sure how different people pronounce differently, but I think it's Salvatore. But hey, Glenda, if I said it right, let me know. And if I said it wrong, let me know. Yeah, anyway.
Well, this is great. I love this, Nella. Nella says, I am a skeptic, but I choose to believe in Rosemary.
Oh, Nella, that's, let me tell you a secret. Shall I tell you a secret, Nella? I'm a skeptic too. I'm so skeptical of the amount of people who say what they can do and what they can't do. I'm skeptical every time I hear someone give a message from the spirit world. I question it. I'm skeptical. Oh, wait a minute. Even when I give messages from the spirit world, I'm going to question and question. Did I hear it right? Wait a minute. But could I have done it better? Of course, I'm skeptical. If you're a person with a brain, Nella, you obviously are. I like you. If you're a person with a brain, a thinking person, a person who is, sort of able to think for themselves, let's say, at some point you've done your research. At some point you've doubted. It's a human thing to do. At some point you applied that skepticism, and we should apply that skepticism in order to make sure that we're not fooled by this. And of course, we know there are so many people out there who don't have the gift, but who say they do. Some of them are definitely fakes, deliberately so. And some of them are wonderful people who believe that they have a gift. But you know what they say, a little knowledge can be a dangerous thing. So, I think, I love you, Nella. I think it's a wonderful way to be. You've got to remain skeptical. I'm so glad you choose not to be skeptical about me. That's so nice of you. Okay, Chris.
Well, I think we're right up at the hour, Rosemary.
Okay. All right. So is there anything at all, Chris, that you can see?
No, not right now.
Okay. So that's it. All right. Well, we hope you enjoyed story time. I do hope you enjoyed my story today. Let me see. We should be back, excuse me, hopefully, definitely next Thursday. If the webinar changes, please, don't worry. We will reschedule. So please don't worry about that. If you want to know more about the webinar, please go to our website. Tickets are $65, and we will be having it, which I promise you. So we'll be back definitely on Thursday, but I have a suspicion we'll be popping in and out with other things throughout the week. I've got to keep Chris busy. I've got to keep a mind on doing things that she enjoys. And I know, am I right, Chris, that you love the off-the-cuff stuff?
I love helping people, and I love, that we're reaching out and offering hope. So anytime I can be useful, I'm happy.
No, we're not asking you to be useful. Did you enjoy off-the-cuff stuff?
Yes.
Yes, you do. I know you do. So we'll be doing a bit more of that. We'll be definitely here next Thursday. We should be definitely here next Saturday. Yes, Chris?
Well, we might be able to do something later in the day.
Yeah, I'm a bit lost with it all. We'll let you know. You keep going to the website, everybody. That's where you'll find the information, rosemaryaltea.com. Or if you want to be put on the mailing list, just email Chris, Kris, at rosemaryaltea.com, and say, put me on the mailing list, and we'll put you on there. You will not be automatically put on the mailing list. You'll need to request it. So, because I believe that everybody should have the right to not get inundated with all those emails we don't want. So, and what else, Chris? Is there anything else that I've missed?
No, not right now.
Okay, so keep watching. We'll keep you posted in what's happening with us, and thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. We're sorry it's Saturday, and I've probably taken up all of your Saturday when you had so many other better things to do. But I'm glad you joined us anyway. Please, everybody out there, have a very blessed rest of Saturday. Have a very blessed rest of the weekend. Is it Father's Day this weekend, Chris?
I believe so.
Well, for all of you good fathers, you lovely fathers, you fabulous fathers, and even some of you are not so good, please have a great Father's Day. But remember, Father's Day is really not about the father. I'm sorry. Father's Day, as is Mother's Day, it's about the kids. Because without them, you wouldn't be a father or a mother, would you? So remember, Father's Day is about spending time with your children and enjoying time with your children as you can, and also having a good time yourself at the same time. So until I see you next time, please, all of you, thank you so much for joining. Thank you, Chris, for all that you do. I'm thanking Grey Eagle also for what he does. Please, everybody out there, have a very blessed rest of the day, and have a very blessed weekend, everybody. Bye-bye.